is the final session of our international seminar on sustainable development and the BRICS social agenda. Thank you very much for being here. Once again, we are going to use the format of a discussion session, more informally speaking, of a kind of a talk show session, even though I'm not André Trigueiro, right? But the idea of this session is to wrap up the work of the last 2 days, during which we had 5 very good panels on the different themes of the Rio Plus 20 conference and how the BRICS deal with these themes and whether their proposals, agendas, their common positions or their differences regarding what's going to be discussed in June here in Rio in the UN Conference on Sustainable Development. So the idea is to give, to provoke a little bit the panel with a few questions from myself, and the members of the panel are also free to discuss among them, to make questions to each other. And also, we will be receiving questions from the audience to the participants. These questions can come in the form of written questions to me, and I will include them in the discussion, or in the last half hour or so, we can also have questions from the public, unwritten questions. I mean, you can make your own questions, but when we're half hour before the end of the session. But the idea is really to have a more dynamic discussion about what we can bring, what we can take actually from the discussions of the last 2 days. This roundtable will be mostly in English. I hope everyone has their translation thing anyway ready. Paulo Esteves, a representative from Brazil, will be speaking in Portuguese since he's in his homeland. Well, myself, my name is João Pontes Nogueira. I'm director of the International Relations Institute of PUC-Rio, and I'm also the general supervisor here of the BRICS Policy Center, which is a project joint project between the city of Rio and PUC-Rio, the Catholic University of Rio de Janeiro. And I'm very pleased to have with us today Dr. Sanusha Naidu, who's a researcher from the Open Society Foundation from South Africa. We have also with us Dr. Vivan Charan, who's associate researcher from the Observatory Research Foundation in India. Dr. Feng Yun, Executive Vice President from the China Executive Leadership Academy in Pudong, China. And Dr. Nikolai, I'm sorry, I don't have your surname, Mikhailov, sorry, yes, from the Mir Foundation in Moscow, Russia, who will be participating. Here we have on the program still the name of Georg Torolai. I'm sorry for this mistake, but Dr. Nikolai Mikhailov will be taking his place. Well, to begin our discussion, I would ask the panel. First of all, we've heard several members of the panels in the last 2 days propose, well, a not very optimistic view of what the Rio Plus 20 can deliver, especially in the panels of today on institutional governance. There was a high skepticism about what we can achieve regarding the governance of the sustainable development. But the same thing can be said about the green economy and also poverty alleviation, which are the other themes of the conference. But before going into the specifics about the reasons for this skepticism regarding the conference itself, I heard also some voices that had doubts about the capability of the BRICS to have a role, at least a cohesive role, as an actor in the negotiations here in Rio. And this is a question that arises always in the press, especially in the West, about whether the BRICS can have a common position regarding, well, many different issues, but especially in the multilateral arena, in this case, in the UN Conference for Rio Plus 20. So I'd like to hear your views about what do you think the BRICS can really deliver here in the conference, if anything at all. So who would like to begin? I open the floor. Professor Mihalov.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to be here, and I just wanted to thank the BRICS Policy Center for this kind invitation. And talking about pessimism or optimism, I recall a joke, an old joke coming from Soviet Union time. An optimist is going down the road, and there were two pessimists following him as special agents. What I'd like to say by this is that everything depends on the point of view of the subject, and when we talk about sustainable development, for example, we see a lot of contradictions, we see a lot of different approaches, and we of course see what the big brother is trying to tell us. And if the big brother is not really satisfied with other opinions, then we see some sort of a criticism, some sort of negative reaction. However, when I made a quick research about the concepts of sustainable development, I was surprised that I couldn't find any reasonable, any legible concept that I could have used. I could have used and compare to other proposals, other ideas that appear every now and then. Just to give you an example, one of the reports by one of the US researchers, just to summarize it, was very, very tricky and confusing. The point was that there are several principles that we can talk about when we discuss sustainable development. And the summary was that the concept of sustainable development is to go the right way. I was really perplexed by this determination, because it leads you to another question, and what is the right way? Take today's paper, Economia. Desenvolvimento Sustentável precisa de metas. What does this mean? This means that there are no goals, or these goals are in process of being developed. I find it quite strange that we are talking about such important things, and every time we see that there are such a discrepancy, such a confusion among approaches, among ideas. What United Nations is trying to compile, we also see a wide range of approaches. So the point I was trying to make is that we should rather think about concepts, and we should rather agree on concepts somehow. Earlier in the morning, Dr. Talaraya, my colleague, was proposing a nice thing. He was saying that we need a wise men club to discuss all these ideas, or develop new ideas, develop new concepts. And just to criticize him a little bit, I was asking myself, and who will do the selection of these wise men? Who will be those curandeiros who would be able to cure ourselves, cure the society? How would we going to select them? Would it be the big brother who will do the selection? No, I don't like the idea. Would that be, let's turn this example to BRICS, to BRICS countries. Is there a way we can agree upon who would be representing each country? Who would be those wise men? Well, that's what I was going to say. Thank you.